Hello my creatives and welcome to another video. So today I'm gonna share how I made my new junk journal with you, and this time I am using several kinds of papers. So first of all, I'm picking out some pattern papers from a digital kit. This is from Crate Paper Fresh Bouquet and it's a kit I bought from AC Digitals. I'm also grabbing this craft cardstock. It's a pretty thick cardstock because I'm going to use that for my cover, and later on I will show you more papers that I'm going to use. So my junk journal will be about the traveler's notebook size. So my paper is 8 1/4 of an inch, I believe, and 8 inches, and that I scored in the middle, that which is 4 inches. So it's about the traveler's notebook size. I thought it was fun because I haven't worked in a size like this for quite some time, so I thought it was a fun little challenge to do a different size for my junk journal. And now I'm going to cut the white edges of these papers off to pick out my cover page. So I really wanted this beautiful pink floral as my cover. It really spoke to me and I was like, yes, this is going to be the cover of my new journal. But I knew the paper wasn't wide enough to cover the whole, how do I say that, the whole cover paper. I don't know how to call that. So that's why I chose the craft cardstock, so that it would have this craft border, which I really liked, and I made sure that it was part of my design. And for the inside, I'm going to use some sheet music paper, and I will make sure that you will also see some of the craft cardstock on the inside. So I believe I cut this paper at 7.5 inches by 7 3/4 of an inch to make sure that there's around 1/4 of an inch of a gap for the cover. I'm not quite sure. So that is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to create my cover first because when using wet glue, which I do, you always need to let it dry for a little bit. But before I'm going to stick everything down, I'm going to distress all the edges of the papers with some Distress Oxide in Gathered Twigs. I love this color. This is one of my favorite colors to distress my papers with, to give it some of a vintage look, or it's a favorite brown I have. So I'm going to do that for all the papers, and I'm also going to do that for the cover. And now I'm going to adhere everything. So this is the first time that I'm using the Eileen's Clear Gel Tacky Glue. And I really like the glue, but I have trouble with getting the glue out of the bottle. Maybe it's because I made the hole too small, but I also don't want to make it bigger because then maybe I will get very big glue blobs on my projects. So I do recommend this glue, but I don't recommend it for people with problems with holding in things in their hands or giving strength in their hands, because I have to put quite some effort in squeezing the bottle. So I'm not sure if I want to recommend that to those people, but I do really like the glue and it sticks fantastically and it doesn't buckle up my paper, which makes me very happy. So yeah, here I am adhering the inside of the cover, and now I'm going to adhere the outside of the cover with wet glue. I use wet glue because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room when I put the paper down. So if it's not quite straight, I can wiggle it around a little bit to make sure that it is straight on my paper. And I'm burnishing it down with my bone folder, and that will spread the glue underneath, so it will have a good bond with the craft cardstock. And I'm going to leave it dry for about 24 hours to make sure that the glue is dry, so it will not rip my paper. But I am ready to prepare my signatures, and in these signatures I will have all kinds of different papers that I had laying around in my stash. So I have few writing papers, I have some craft packaging that I got from orders I order online. I always keep the brown paper, and I am using this issue from Flow magazine to take some pages out. And what I like to do is I like to break the spine of the magazine to rip out these pages, but to rip them that they won't rip. I'm sorry, I'm a bit chaotic today. But that I will have kind of a straight edge and that I will not rip into the illustration. So I like to crack the the glued spine. So I'm just flipping through and I'm checking if there are images that are speaking to me, and if they are, I will take them out, and later on I will cut them to size in my journal. But I do keep the size of my journal in mind, so some of these images will be cut off a little bit. So now I'm going to the next step, which is folding all my papers in half that I want to add in my journal for my signature. I'm going to do one signature, but I'm going to fold everything in half, also the scrap pieces from the cover. And after that, I will assemble my signature. So some of these papers already had a half, and these are too big, but I will cut them to size later on. So I thought for this map page, I could get 2 pages out of this, and that is why I folded it in half first and then trimmed it, so I could have 2 map pages in my journal. So what I like to do next is organize a little bit what I have. So I organize pattern papers, I organize kind of blank papers or writing papers, and I organize map papers and all these kinds of stacks. So I have a bit of a view on what I have. And now we're just going to assemble the pages together in a way that I like it. So sometimes I try some things and then I switch around. And with these magazine images, I'm making sure that the image that I want is inside the signature of the pattern paper, because I know the height of the pattern paper will fit perfectly in my traveler's notebook. So I am making sure that if there's some part of the image that I want, that is in the part of the pattern paper. So yeah, here you see me just grabbing different types of paper. So I also have this paper that I ripped out of a journal. I have magazine images. I have from an old, I don't know, notebook. And I have some music sheet paper and some text paper from an old book. That was from an art journal I turned into a book, and I took out some pages, so I always keep those to put in journals. And yeah, like I said, the pattern paper from the the Crate Paper Fresh Bouquet collection, which also inspired this junk journal because I really like that collection. I also added these little pieces, and this will be the base for my signatures. As you can see, everything is too big, but I will cut that down later on. So now we are the next day, and I am going to prepare my cover. So I'm going to rescore the middle of my cover, and then I'm going to bend my paper slightly and carefully to prevent it from ripping. So yeah, I don't know, how do you say that? To move it a little bit up and down so it will get more flexible, but it doesn't break. Because if you do this all of a sudden, your paper will probably break. And it will not look so nice, unless you, of course, really like the vintage look. So if that's what you're going for, go for it. But usually I make sure that I move it up and down a little bit. So now I'm going to start with resizing my papers. And with these magazine papers, I had a little bit of an issue because I really like the images on there. And I had to figure out where I wanted to cut. So I made sure these pages would fit my junk journal. And my junk journal is 8 by 8, 1/4 of an inch. So I'm making sure my papers will also be cut to that size. And I will do this step for every paper that I'm having laying there. So I don't mind if they are shorter, but I need them not to be wider than 4 inches. So that's why I'm going to cut everything off. And of course I will keep all the scraps of these pages, and I put them in a little envelope to use in my journal once I start working in it. So I'm not throwing these scraps out. Here you can see that I'm figuring out where I want to cut it. It's more of an intuitive thing, I guess, if you are doing this, what you want to keep of an image. You can also do certain kinds of fold-ins and stuff, but I didn't want to do that for this journal because I already picked out quite a lot of papers and I know it will bulk up pretty fast. So that is why I didn't choose to do any of these fancy folds. I just wanted to create a simple journal with magazine pages and papers that I enjoyed. So now my signature is complete, and I'm going to put that in my cover and making sure that everything is very well in the crease of my cover. and I'm flipping through it to see if this is how I want my papers to be. And I'm pretty happy with this, and it looks very, very fun, and I can't wait to work on all these different kinds of pages. So now I'm going to grab some binder clips, and I'm going to make sure that these pages will stay together for me to make my holes. So I make sure that this is very well in the crease of this booklet and in the crease of the, oh no, I will do them separately, but very well in the crease, and that everything is folded up properly. And now I'm going to grab my owl and my ruler, and I found the center point, which is 11 centimeters, and I do 3 centimeters from the bottom, which is about 1.5 inch, and 3 centimeters on the top, which is about 1.5 inch for my poking holes. And of course, Link had to check my new journal. He approved it, he loved it. I'm going to use the same measurements for the cover. To make sure that it will line up properly, and I'm also going to poke holes in my cover for the binding, and this will be a very, very simple binding. It's a very easy binding. I think everyone can do it. I chose some blue embroidery thread for this because there were also hints of blue in the collection, and the first paper in this journal is also blue, so I thought it was a fun color to use. And I will start from the middle, from the inside, and then go up in the outside. Then after I did that, sometimes it's a bit of fussy job but after I did that, I will go to the bottom of my signature and my cover, and then I will go up in the middle again, making sure that I have a string to both ends of this middle string that is there. To tie my knots. If you want to have the thread on the outside, you start from the outside going in. I like to have my threads on the inside, but you could also add some beads or charms on the outside on this string if you would like. I usually don't, because I don't like things hanging on my journal or dangling on there, because it really, really distracts me, and sometimes it annoys me. So I always do the string on the inside, or most of the time. So after that, you see that I have a little bit of overhang even when I cut my paper to size. That's because you are folding papers into each other, and the paper has also a thickness. So this will happen, and that's okay. You can just grab a ruler and a cutting knife and make sure you put a lot of pressure on the ruler and start cutting. So cutting is not my best thing, but in the end it worked out. Only I had this knife and it wasn't sharp enough anymore, so I have some rough edges, but you know, it's a junk journal and it's a vintage kind of style journal, so I'm okay with that. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, at first it bothered me, but in the end it's okay. I should have changed my blade, but I didn't because I was lazy. So yeah, now you can see the little rough edges there. If you have a sharp blade, this will not happen. But yeah, to me it happened, and I did something like this to scrape it off or something, but it didn't really work. So make sure your knife is sharp if you want to do this properly. But now you see that my papers line up perfectly in my cover because I cut them the excess off. And now my journal is pretty much complete, so I'm going to flip through and take some of these weird edge of papers off. And I have to say, my perfectionism was like, no, but now it's okay. Nobody will notice. It's my journal. It's a junk journal. It's handmade. And after I filled it up, nobody will see these imperfect edges. And also, this imperfection also has something to it. So usually I wait before decorating my cover, but for this journal I wanted to do it right away. I like to add some ribbon or lace underneath my binding, so just in case I want to change out my binding, or if it breaks, I don't like it to be a part of my journal. I like to slip it under the binding, so I chose this lace from Action, and I found some of these die cuts that were in the collection and I really liked them, so I thought I would create some kind of a plate on the front cover of my journal, and I'm going to adhere this with some wet glue. And I also find some other embellishments. So these embellishments are hand cut by myself because I don't have a silhouette or a cricket. And if you want to know how to print your own digital kits, I have a video linked down below in the description box where I show you how I do it. But I also show you how you can do it, and I share the whole process with you and the papers that I use and the printer that I have. So if you are interested in that, I will leave that link down below in the description box. For now, I am taking some letter stickers to add my volume number and my year. This is something that I do for my archive. So I have the year and the volume number. So this will be the first one for 2021. So it will say volume 1 2021. If I have journals which go over multiple years, they will call, for example, 2019, 2020. Then those don't have a volume number because, well, I know when they were, because they were in the span of 2 years or across a year. I also found this very cute little butterfly that I'm going to add, and I find another little bow which I'm going to add as well to my cover. And I think that will complete my journal. Of course, I will do a little flip through for you. I also find this heart, which I really liked, so I'm also going to add that to the cover. I like my covers to be quite plain and simple and flat because that's easy for storing on my bookshelf. So usually I don't have any dimensional things on my cover. Sometimes I do, but usually I don't. So here we are. This is my finished junk journal. I will do a flip through for you so you can see how it is right now. I will add pockets and embellishments as I go because I don't like to be restricted to a certain kind of page or a certain thing on a page. So as I go, I will probably add pockets and embellishments and all those kinds of things. But for now, this is my journal. I already made 2 pages in it and I absolutely love it. I had a lot of fun with it, and I am going across this journal, so it's not on a chronological order, which is also new for me, but I very much enjoy that. And I'm going to do lots of different things in this journal. So I'm going to work with photos, with journaling, with paints, with all kinds of things that I can find that I feel inspired by. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, I would love it if you'd give me a thumbs up. I would also love it if you'd consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye!